Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to tell you about this podcast. It's called The DK Project, but it's really The Darren Show. The DK Project is a radio show, but without the radio. So sit back, buckle up, and enjoy the ride.
Let's go!
Welcome back, listeners, to the DK Project. Stopping in today, not even on a Zoom, in person. Obviously wore his mask. We wiped everything down. He's in his own little bubble. No one can get near him. COVID-friendly space. Mr. Eric Perkins, how are you today, sir?
What's going on, man? I've been to Lost Lake Creamery so many times, and
that's good.
And it's a pleasure to be in the backside of the building now.
The back where all the magic happens.
Exactly.
Actually, the place looks a little rough because I'm here by myself all winter, and no one's here to straighten up, if you will, because the boss doesn't come in again until probably March. So.
No, it looks good, and it is very sanitary. You're
tip
right.
top, and we have to be aware of that. Are you surviving the COVID? What are you doing? Just locking it down?
I'm the only person, I feel like, at Kare 11 that is still broadcasting from home and has been since March. I have not set foot in Kare 11 since March.
So how does that work then? Is that like an option? Like you go back when you feel like you can go back, or?
It's not my call.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
They just don't want you there?
It's like I have a restraining order. I went to get a Vikings credential so I could, we go to the home games, right? So I can go to US Bank Stadium and watch the Vikings play and do dreadful things. And I went to the station to get my credential, and they had to run it out to me. They're stay
Really?
in your car. We'll run it out to you. I'm like, okay. I actually feel like
You got like a little bit of leprosy or something. They don't want anything near you. So they're letting everyone else in.
I'm toxic, apparently. No, yeah. And I think this, and this is not a Kare 11 decision. This is there's a lot of corporate tentacles that happen and decisions that are made as to, how quickly we all reintegrate. And I think the recent kind of flare up, if you will, did not help my cause. And here's the bottom line: it's working from home, and that's the thing. I mean,
so will you go back then?
It's a good question. Stand by, as we
cut
say,
down on the commute and do it. So do you have a studio at home then? Or?
It is, yeah. And God bless my wife for letting me take over her office, because that's where we get the best Wi-Fi in the house. And the way we broadcast is through something called a TVU, which is like basically a mobile live unit that kind of latches onto wherever there's Wi-Fi, and wherever that you get a cell signal, you can broadcast from.
Wow.
They're pretty remarkable, and so literally, I've got a studio camera in my wife's office. We kind of decorated the background a little bit. And then I've got two lights. I've got a top light, and I've got a light in front of me, and a TVU unit, and my computer that I write scripts on and edit on. And then and I have an earpiece that goes into an IFB, and it's so there's like I turn on 4 switches, the 2 lights. The camera's turned on at all times, so I don't even have to monkey with that because it's all preset and the colors are all balanced.
Do they run that from the station then, from the control room?
No, we have to have a guy come out and if we had a power outage like a few months ago, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh shoot, my camera's all reset. Like, what do I do? And they had to come back out and rebalance.
Sounds like Kare 11 needs to step up and buy you a generator for the crib. That's what I'm sensing.
Oh, it's been great, and I've been honestly my schedule as it is. Normally, I would go into work around. This is ballpark, okay, because it's different. The sports is weird, but I'd go into work around 2, do the 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock news. Maybe if I'm lucky, race home for dinner, and then race back. And it's about a 25-minute drive each way, so not a lot of time at home or help. Whether it's having dinner, or whether it's running a kid to practice, or or helping them with homework or whatever. And then I'm racing back, get there by 8:30 and bang out the 10 o'clock news, and then wrap up all the emails and all that stuff. Get home around midnight, and so I mean, there was a good portion of the day where I'd get my kids to school. They're at school all day. I'm then at work by 2 and probably don't come home till midnight, and I don't see them till the next morning. I mean, so as far as family time goes, It's killer.
It's helped everybody.
It's an awful schedule. It is an awful schedule.
Well, but I mean the COVID has helped everybody because now you're home.
Now, in the last 9 months, I've had every meal at home. Yeah. I've been able to cook meals. We can meal plan and I do. Man, yeah, it's been great. No, it's great, and I do get to spend so much more time with the kids and my wife, and it's like I'm not banging down the doors to get back in,
right?
Because it is working from home. We are able to, thank God I have a really good producer and a good staff at Kare 11 that are able to kind of keep everything afloat and we're able.
But essentially, you could stay home.
I could.
Ooh. I could. Ooh, the plot thickens.
We'll see. We'll see. These are decisions that I know they want me back, and I do think it looks a little bit awkward when everybody's in studio and I'm still at home, and there's been free Perk hashtags on Twitter and all that stuff. What are you doing? But you look around at the other stations, and I think the Fox 9 sports guys still at home, and the Channel 5
sports guys. Anybody should get to the studio. It's the Fox 9 guy because. Come on, dude.
They're all at
nice basement.
They're all at home. And I think other than Mike Max, let's say that, because Mike Max is still hitting the streets and getting those gritty interviews. But he's
maybe it's just you crazy sports guys. They don't want you infecting the whole staff.
I like to think of myself as the designated survivor if all heck breaks loose.
I'm sure that's what it is. Somebody who could take over. I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah.
So So I was doing a little homework, and you're a California boy.
I am.
With a Pepperdine certificate of authenticity.
Yes, graduate. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, and regrettably graduated in 4 years.
Really?
In hindsight, man, I was living in Malibu.
Yeah.
It was next to the beach. Pepperdine is literally on Pacific Coast Highway, overlooking the beach and the beaches in Malibu.
That is a mistake on your part. You should have rode that out.
It's ridiculous. I don't know. I was so chomping at the bit to get into the real world or whatever, and it was just like, oh man, I should have milked that a little bit longer. But
are the parents still out there?
No. So it was funny because we all grew up in Los Angeles, and then as soon as I graduated college, they buzzed out. And L.A. can be a wear and a tear. Let's just put it that way.
Well, it's such a polar opposite from where we are now. My daughter goes to San Diego State.
Yeah.
So I go out to visit her and and I can handle a 4-day weekend, and then I'm ready to go home. And right now it's just absolutely absurd out there because they've got everything locked down. You can't do anything. But at the time you were there, it probably wasn't quite as forward as it is now, if you can say that.
I still have a soft spot in my heart for it, and I still try to go back there because I do have friends out there. But I was out there last year, I think for a Vikings game or whatever. But I got to get my In-N-Out burger fix.
Oh yeah.
But other than that, the smog, the traffic. And just everybody just being so totally immersed in themselves. Do you know what I'm saying? It's just so weird. And that's
a good way to put it.
It's just like I'm good.
How did
I had plenty of time.
So how do you get from Pepperdine on the beach to the middle of nowhere in the ice bowl here?
Well, you try to figure out where you can break into broadcasting because I knew that's what I wanted to do. My dad was a broadcaster for a long time for NBC News, and so I kind of was. I grew up around it. I was completely engulfed in that world and enamored by it, and so I started taking broadcasting classes in college. Everything from being a radio DJ to being a volleyball play-by-play announcer for the, courtside or whatever. It's just anything I could. And then once I started doing TV, I was like, oh man, this is it.
Yeah,
this is it. I just knew, and it was like I consider myself blessed in that regard because I know there's a lot of kids out there in colleges that they don't really know yet, and it takes a long time. And some people, I know some people in their early 30s that still don't know what they want to do and what they want to be, and that's cool. But it's just I figured it out early and it clicked, and but then it was hard son of a gun to crack in, man.
Yeah.
It was just I eventually, my dad knew a guy at CNN, and I was able to intern in CNN, and this is in the 80s, dude. This is so I'm old, but like this is in the late 80s, and I'm interning at CNN in the graphics department. Okay,
in the 80s,
late 80s.
Jesus, how old are you? Damn,
I'm old, dude. I told you that. But like, I'm interning in the graphics department, and I'm literally building those over-the-shoulder graphics over the anchor's shoulders, and I don't know what I'm doing. But then I got a job at a Motor Week Illustrated, which was an auto racing show on ESPN.
Nice.
And I hadn't really kind of dived into the world of auto racing, but 6 months into that job, and I was just all about it. Man, this is the coolest thing ever. And I wasn't doing much. I was just driving tapes from a production studio to an editing house, whatever.
But that's
it was like a grunt job, but I was like, but I was logging, hour-long interviews with Bobby Rahal or whoever else I was doing. I don't even know what I was doing. Like, and it was, and eventually through that, I met a guy that knew of an opening at the NBC station in Tupelo, Mississippi.
Oh, back to Tupelo.
Big opening there.
That's a change in life right there.
It was. I drove across from Atlanta to Mississippi, and I remember seeing downtown exit, and the tallest building I saw was 3 stories. I was like, wait, what? Where's the skyline? And it was just like, oh shoot, there's a Shoney's. That's kind of that's like a Denny's.
Living, baby.
Yeah, and then anyway, eventually they got a mall.
How long were you there?
I was there 3 years.
Is that like a?
You pay your dues.
Is that like the thing? Like 3 years? Is that
Yeah, I mean,
I got a little clout.
Yeah, if you make it that long, because you're making 13.5 and you're just scraping by, which sounds brutal, but in Mississippi it really wasn't that bad.
Yeah, right. King of the world in Mississippi.
But like you scrape by, but what you're doing is like you're learning how to shoot, you're learning how to edit, and you're learning how to write, and you're learning how to deal with deadline pressure and being able to flex your skills in live situations and all that stuff that really behooves you later and makes you a better broadcaster.
How much has that
overall.
stuff changed? Like you were saying, you started off doing the graphics over the shoulder at CNN, and like that has to have changed dramatically at this point with technology and software to where it's 1/16 of the job it was at the time you did it.
It's interesting. It's like a lot of the business has changed drastically, as you mentioned, the technology and how things are digital now and how we can get into all that. But like it used to be where like I literally had a shoulder pack that had the big cassette that you stick the cassette. So the recorder is on your shoulder, right? And you put the cassette in there. Your camera's on the other shoulder, and the camera's weighty and big and huge back then. And there's a cord that goes from one to the other. And then if God help you if you need lights or anything like that, and you got to hold your own microphones and shooting your own stand-ups are hilarious because then you're walking in front, you're putting a light stand where you're going to stand, you focus in on that, you take the light stand away, you walk out there, and you're doing all this stuff by yourself, and but you're totally learning the craft, you're learning what looks good, and you're learning how things should be edited and the pacing of everything, and so a lot of that has changed because now, instead of like going and editing, and then like if you screw up, you're like, you have to go back and erase and all this stuff. Now it's just like literally it's a Control Z. And it just re-clears the edit.
Yeah, Control Z changes everything.
It does. And anyway, so all the technology has changed. The way people consume news has changed as we try to continue to evolve and meet them where they are and be relevant digitally and socially and all these things.
And now, did you ever think? Obviously, in 1980, that you could ever do this from home. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Yeah.
Like what a turn of events.
Insane. Yeah. It used to be where we'd need a big satellite truck.
Yeah.
Out front and a bunch of wires coming in.
You need the big
stuff.
Satellite at your house to get it to come in.
Yeah. And
wow.
all that is mind-boggling, and how we can just
So do you still so from Tupelo, where do we go from there?
Well, then eventually I get a job in Memphis, Tennessee,
Little bigger,
so
better.
basically I went from Elvis's birthplace to Elvis's home. I went from Elvis's.
The king.
I was following his track, man. And then anyway, so I ended up in Memphis at the Fox station there, and it was fine. I was the weekend sports anchor, but it was better sports, right? I mean, Mississippi wasn't all that bad. Like we were in the
what do they have?
We were in the viewing area of Ole Miss and Mississippi
Ole Miss,
State.
Yeah.
So Mississippi State was like an hour south. And Ole Miss was like an hour 15 west.
Wow.
So like we drive a lot in that job, but we'd see SEC sports, which was cool. But Memphis at least had like a golf tournament, and a tennis tournament, and so a semblance.
They
of
probably didn't have
minor
a
league.
pro basketball team back then.
Correct. No.
This is like
we had
early.
we had a CFL team.
Oh,
We had the Canadian Football League made this big push into the U.S. In the 90s, and they decided to like, hey, let's have a couple of U.S. markets, and they broke into Memphis, so I covered the Memphis Mad Dogs, and I remember I went to Ottawa, I went to.
why do you think that stuff doesn't work? Like the XFL and the Canadian, these other football conferences and leagues that come to the U.S. and they never work.
They never
but
work.
yet people are stupid enough to keep trying.
And they keep trying. You're right.
It's such an enormous waste of money that.
And they get these huge backers too, right? You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, yeah, but this might work because they got Vince McMahon behind it, or this might work because CBS has the rights and all.
Your soon-to-be former president, he must have been smiling when wasn't it just the XFL that tried again?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's you can't touch the football. They should just
don't.
It should be like a national stamp. Nobody else. This is it. This is our football.
Nobody monkey with it.
So Memphis, you at least have something.
I do, and and by that point I was getting pretty good, and like, but eventually my weekend director, her best friend, who they used to work together in Green Bay, was now the sports shooter at Kare 11, working under Randy Shaver. And so she came down to visit my weekend director. Shout out to Peggy. And she, hey, tell your boy to send a tape. We got an opening. Or like, I'm like, I don't want to go to Minneapolis, do I? Or whatever. So I was like, it's pro sports, might as well.
Yeah.
Sent a tape, and because like keep in mind, like L.A., Atlanta, Mississippi, Memphis, I'm still not. I don't know what cold weather is at this point.
No,
right? You know what I'm saying?
You've only just begun. Welcome to Minnesota.
Yeah. Eventually, I got the job. Randy liked me, which is hard to do.
Didn't he move to the? He's the main dude now, right?
Yeah, Randy's our news anchor.
That's crazy.
Well, he's been there a long time. I think like he just he's still doing the Prep Sports Extra. God bless him, and that's been going 37 years. So he's been at it is it 30? Yeah, I think it is,
Wow.
dude. He's been there a long ass time.
That's cool.
But he does a really great job, and he's ingrained here, and they've given him a lot of great opportunities over the years, and same here.
So once you get here, now you did the Saturdays.
I did the Saturday morning show. For
fun
a while.
show.
Yeah, with Belinda.
That it looks like fun.
It is.
It's so laid back. And she's really made that her own thing. Like
that's her monster. It's in a good way. It's a 2-hour show. It's like a lifestyle show, but it's also news, and it's like fashion and cooking and all that.
Right.
All this. I mean,
I always get a
crafts
laugh
and
when they're doing food and out of nowhere, Bobby Jensen, he's right there. Every time. He is there for the meal plan.
He's a fiend.
I love it.
And unapologetic about it too. That's what I love about it. They'll just house food on that show. That was a good show to be on. I enjoyed that. I did it about a half a dozen years, and then they made things shuffled around, and I eventually became the full-time sports guy. But I started as a sports reporter.
Yeah.
Then I was the weekend sports guy, and then I was eventually the Monday through Friday sports guy, and it's just it's great. It's a great gig. This is a great sports market.
Yeah,
it really is. And if you think about,
unless you like winners.
Well, and he said winners, not winters. But yeah, either one. But like you think about like all the sports markets around the country, right?
Yeah.
And like how many can say that they have MLB, NHL, NBA, NFL, WNBA, MLS, Division I college.
Not
you
many.
You run down the markets, you'll find a hole in just about all of them.
Yeah.
Oh, they don't. Yeah, but they don't have MLS. Oh, yeah, but they don't have WNBA.
That's
yeah,
true.
But and this has every single one of them. And I think I counted. There's about 4 or 5 other cities that, and it's.
So that's a major market per se for a sports reporter.
It is.
I mean, you've got all of it.
and you throw in Ryder Cups, and you throw in X Games, and you throw in Final Fours, and you throw in Super Bowls,
That's
and
true.
It's been fantastic. It's been fantastic, the kind of stuff we have here. There's a vibrant high school scene. There was.
Yeah. It's coming back. I just got. I do the announcing for the local high school team, and they're looking at hockey and basketball late January, so we'll see. Stay tuned for more after this word from our sponsors. Today's episode is brought to you by the good folks at Grady Restoration. If you've got storm damage, hail damage, wind damage, any of the damages that can happen to your house, get somebody out there to take a look at it. Don't take on the insurance companies by yourself. Bring in the professionals at Grady Restoration. These guys are top shelf. Basically, you're set it and forget it kind of a restoration company. They'll come in, take care of everything, handling the insurance needs, ordering the materials, bringing in the contractors, and it runs like a clock. They're the best in the business, and you can count on them to get the project done timely and get it done right. Now listen, there's a lot of options when it comes to remodeling and restoration, but make sure you check out who you're working with and make sure they have a good reputation and aren't some fly-by-night company that just rolled into town. Go with the pros. Grady Restoration, 952-472-1570. Or check them out on the web at GradyRestoration.com. All right, project listeners, time to spotlight another local restaurant. The pandemic's got us down, so let's order takeout. Give a local restaurant a call. Today's restaurant spotlight is Size Bar and Grill in Chaska, located at 500 North Pine Street, Chaska, Minnesota. Give them a call, 952-448-9001. I got to tell you, if you're getting takeout and you're in the area, you have to stop by and pick up some takeout from Size Bar and Grill. Their menu is not just standard bar fare. They go above and beyond. They got it all. I'm telling you, I'm a burger guy. They got burgers that you're going to want to drive across town for. They have it all. They got pizza, appetizers, breakfast, and they're happy to put together any kind of a takeout package you might want. So make sure you give them a call and support some local restaurants. Again, Size Bar and Grill, Chaska, Minnesota, 952-448-9001.
Welcome back to the DK Project.
Tell me about, now I was in Spain a year ago.
That must have been sweet.
Yeah, it was real cool. But I bring it up because I went to the Olympic venue.
Uh-huh.
Now, you've done 2 Olympics?
5.
Have you really?
Yeah.
How? So tell me, the reason why I bring up my trip to Spain was it had to be one of the saddest, awesome things I've seen. Because the facility, all of the buildings that were built, all of the whatever pools, all just sitting there.
Barcelona.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that Barcelona?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like pristine. I mean, they take care of it. But what a waste.
Yeah.
Just sad.
And there's so many of these stories. Like you there's a website and it's really cool. You can dive into it. But just Google abandoned Olympic venues and it's you'll be astounded. Like
it's crazy.
It's like especially like some of the stuff in Sarajevo with like these war-torn countries that are just like, oh my God, that's a luge track and now it's got graffiti all over it and it's just like
which ones have you done?
So I my first one was Athens in 2004, and that was the Summer Games, and then Torino, Italy in 2006,
Wow.
And then Beijing in 2008, and Vancouver in 2010, London in 2012, and then I was like, I'm good. Like it's don't get me wrong, it was awesome, and
I imagine it's more awesome if you're of the age that can. I mean, that's got to be extreme.
It's a grind. It's a grind, and like frankly, like my scaling back from it is in direct correlation to my child rearing days. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like it got to the point where like, all right, now this is hard. Now like
Because what are you, 15 days over there or something?
24.
24.
Yeah, and they're long ass days too, because like you get up and you're usually in a foreign country where like an 11 o'clock newscast, because like during the Olympics, primetime coverage goes till 11, right, on Kare 11. And so our newscast doesn't start till 11 p.m. And so then if you're in Europe or if you're in China, you're talking about a live shot at 6 in the morning
Right.
or whatever. And you're having to be up and like be on point and be like looking halfway not delirious and just like slap some makeup on.
And you were up all night there watching the events.
Exactly, because they're primetime events where they are, and then you're chasing the athletes and you're trying to get the interviews and you're trying to edit all the stuff.
Damn.
And so these days that you're working over there, and this is no lie. I'm not just saying this to like make it sound we were talking at some days 20-hour days and like busting our ass days.
Really?
Because because it's just like. There was a lot. I mean, hey, Perk, we're going to need you in the, the 11 a.m. show. We're going to need you in the, this is Lindsey Vaughn, sprained her knee or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Like, this is a huge story.
Breaking news.
All that stuff. And they just, and then like, then we started to get into all the digital and social stuff too. Oh, we gotta feed Kare11.com and we gotta do all this
And it's
stuff.
just
for,
you and a cameraman?
for Twitter and Facebook and but we work with the other stations in our ownership group. So Kare 11 is owned by Tegna, which owns 48 stations across the country, and so a handful of those stations are also there.
Right.
So the Atlanta station is there, and the St. Louis station is there. The Seattle station is there and whatever. And so we're all kind of like able to help each other and pool resources. But it's a lot of work. I get that. Yeah, it's a lot of work. But like, it was sweet to see some of these countries.
What's the goods though? I mean, like there's shit going on there.
So much. And you're just like the epicenter, like the whole world is watching these things for like 2.5 weeks or whatever. And it's just awesome.
And you're seeing the behind the scenes.
Yeah, because you're housed with all the NBC stations, which are housed with the Today Show and nightly news that are out there too. So, I mean, whoever, Lester Holt's running around, Matt Lauer's running around, or whoever. And
did he make any advances at you?
As soon as I said that name, I was like, oh, shoot, that's not good. I almost said Brian Williams, too. That wouldn't have been good either. No, but you're seeing like, and so they, as the network that is hosting the Olympics, are getting all the best athletes coming into the workspace to do the interviews, to do the sit downs with Bob Costas or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So you're like seeing Michael Phelps close up, and or Nastya Lukin or Shaun White or whoever it is. Like there's just, I can go on and on. And I've probably run into them or interviewed them, because then they have to go through the local gauntlet,
right?
And then you put in your request. Hey, I want So
do you then get to? I mean, it sounds like you're going around the clock, but do you get to hang with any of these guys and like go out at night, or is there any free time to like breathe?
You're on a lot of shuttle buses with people, so you can talk to people on shuttle buses. There's, we made a point of like, all right, tonight we're going out. Screw this. We're gonna have them cover this event for us, and like we just gotta like just to stay sane,
right,
you know what I'm saying, and to like take in the experience, like to actually and we would make a point also of shooting the flavor of the place we were, so in that way we got to experience a lot of these cities and these unbelievable places, because like they didn't want just the athlete stories, they wanted the
right.
Go to the street market in Beijing and eat the scorpions or whatever, and it was like
so out of 5, which was the best and which was the worst? And not from the work aspect, just like
I think
cool places.
So I think Athens was fun.
Really?
Athens was a lot of fun. That's a fun place.
Really?
Greeks are awesome. Yeah. But the they had a lot of struggles behind the scenes. And so,
really? Well, that was my
Yeah.
next question.
They were one of those ones that have a lot of those abandoned places now, and that are probably in a lot of financial ruin because of the Olympics and all that cost them. So I think the best run Olympics that I've ever been to was London. Everything was seamless. It was just the venues were amazing.
And are you noticing that while you're there, like in Greece, where you're like, Jesus, this is hokey?
Yeah. Well, and each one kind of presents its own challenges, because like I think in Torino, the skiing venues were 2.5 hours up the mountain, and like you'd have to go way the heck up.
Wow.
It was like a 2.5 hour ride up there, and we were going up there every other day to cover Lindsey Vonn, and it was like, oh my God, or Tony Benshoff, the luge guy, or whoever else we were doing it, and it was just like, so we just spent a lot of time on the road on that one. And then Beijing was just crazy because it was so wildly and vastly different, and despite the fact that there was all these supposed liaisons to help us with the language, it was awful. Like you couldn't communicate with
awful.
anybody, and like and the place reeked, and it was smoggy, and there was, we played this game called Where's the Camera? Like you could, because it's one of these, obviously they have a different political system, and there's no matter where you went, like you could find a camera, and it was
really
freaky. Yeah, like we'd get off the hotel elevator, walk down to our rooms, and there was like somebody with a chart sitting outside the elevator, and when you walked off, they like wrote something down, and then like you'd walk all the way down the hall to your room, and as you're like opening the door to your room, you look back and you see that person, and they're writing something else down as you're walking into your room. You're like, this sucks, dude.
Wow.
This is weird. Like what?
They wanted to make sure you were safe. I'm sure that's what it was.
No, Vancouver was sweet too, and I should throw them in there too, because they were like Whistler, where the mountain events were there. That's beautiful up there. British Columbia is phenomenal. Vancouver is dope.
I've heard good things, but just seeing this one in Spain, like, how come they can't figure out a common ground where we have one location for winter, I mean, what a waste of money. I mean, I'm sure it brings a ton of money in during those however many days, but real world, come on. What a waste of resources.
There's many stories out there of the tolls that these games take. And
there's many stories about the chaos that goes on with the kids in the village and obviously all of that crap. But just being there, I mean, that's wow. What a nice thing to have experienced, because a lot of people don't get to see that side of it and get in the inside, But
there's also a lot of frankly, there's a lot of security concerns too when you go to these things, and they've got the best security people in the world working on these things, but it's also such a stage for potential disaster.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Especially in today's climate.
Yeah, and especially these international melting pots and these hubs of I remember going to the Athens Olympics in 2004, and it was just like this was like the first I think international kind of major event since 9/11 happened, and there were so many people freaked out.
Did it get a lot tighter? Did you notice?
Yeah, and then my cohort who covered the event in Sochi, there was a lot of security concerns about especially cyber over there, and worried about all that. I know they went through a lot of concerns in Rio about whatever, and everyone has to. But we were supposed to go to Tokyo this year, not myself, but Carol Evan was, and obviously that got pushed back to next year.
How weird do you think that's going to be for everybody? I mean, obviously the reporters and whatnot will adjust, but the athletes, who are like, hey, this is my last one. Well, shit, now I got to do another year of training. And I mean, that really, everybody's a year older. It really throws a loop into the whole thing, which could be interesting to see, what exactly is going to happen, because that's never happened before, has it?
No.
Where they've pushed one?
Not that I know of. No.
It's going to be really interesting to see how that all comes together. But who knows? Hopefully they'll be able to do it with all the
I mean, the pandemic has been just absolutely wild, and while my job has been okay because these sports teams are still offering up everybody on Zoom. I mean, every team is trying to stay in the in the news cycle, and so they're here's Marcus Foligno. Talk to him. He's here's Eric Kendricks. He's up
You
for
probably
our
get,
Walter
you
Payton
probably
Man
get
of
a
the
little
Year.
more.
Got a lot of Zooms
access.
going on. A lot of Zooms going on with these guys. I remember my wife's like, I didn't want to, you put away the pans in the kitchen because I knew you were on a Zoom with Kirk Cousins. I was like, it's just it's a weird kind of thing where it's all these things are happening, and what I worry about is like all these athletes that are trying to get scholarships or losing seasons going into all this, and or even just youth athletes that are trying to develop their games and actually get better at what they're doing, and it's just they can't take the ice, they can't hit the courts, and it's just this stuff scares me.
What
man.
do we have? My daughter graduated last year, so I'm very familiar with that class, this current class, and there's a couple of athletes who are, three-sport, strong athletes for Mound, Westonka, and they're just getting, that was the big thing with the football. You got to play football because all these other schools are getting looked at, and are the athletes who are at schools where they're able to play. So it screws everything up. But that's another show down the road.
That's a whole other show. You're
right. But
they
so fast forward now you're covering the Minnesota teams, which I say with a chuckle because there's always something. It's
always something, dude.
Never
it's crazy.
Smooth.
It's crazy. It's just like, oh gosh.
It's actually probably like the layup for your business. I mean, you don't have to find things; it comes to you.
The drama ensues. It's
crazy.
It does, and it is crazy, and it gets juicy sometimes too. But and there's a lot of passion here in this town for these teams, and when a Twins team, you get your hopes up, and then they go, they lose their 18th straight playoff game, and you're just like, are you kidding me? Really again?
Well, you almost get like you got a little callous, like you are expecting it now, like. To see them actually win would really be wow. But the Twins have actually done it. They won the World Series twice as of late, and but nobody, the football team. God, football team is
the percentages of like there being 54 Super Bowls and the Vikings still haven't won one, and it's just God bless.
It's time though.
It's time. Dan Bailey, start making your kicks.
Yes, that's on my notes. I made notes. Is he still employed?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yes. Well, there's 3 games left. He's been reliable in the past. They're going to chalk this one up to it being just a case of the mental yips, and we'll see if he can move forward. I think there's a collective kind of special teams failure that goes far beyond just the kicking right now. I think there's the amount of special teams mistakes this year has been ungodly. It is like it's crazy.
Oh, for sure. It's really been traumatic, but to see that many muffed catches on the kickoffs and the punts, and then to see your kicker miss that many kicks, extra points.
Well, it's not just Dan Bailey. This is like we've had such a bad run of kicking woes with the Vikings, haven't they? It's just like, oh my gosh.
It seems like such a basic position too. Like you got one job. Yeah, they got a gal at Vanderbilt kicking for him now. It's
to the point if they do make one, you're like, oh, yeah, let's go.
Well, this is going to be a good game. We made our field goal.
Like it just used to be one of these things where it was just like, yeah, nailed it, automatic 44-yarder, let's get it. All right, yeah. Right. You're not surprised when they make it, but now you're just like, it's like white knuckle every time it's a 28-yarder.
We're talking about billion people in the country. Like we got. And this is your guy? Like you can't, and you're paying real money. It's not like, hey, we got to pay minimum wage. We got to get somebody. They're not. They're paying real money.
They fired their long snapper earlier in the season. It was funny because his name was Austin Cutting, and they ended up cutting him. And so I said, well, does that mean they're going to bail on Bailey? Is that no?
This is true.
These players are living up to their
name, though. Huh? How much that falls on Zim?
He has been. I've seen him tee off on his special teams coach several times this year. I don't know how much that falls on Zim.
Are you in there when they're in the locker room and
not this year?
No,
not this year.
I suppose not.
Yeah. But every other year, we are in the locker room after the game where we're seeing a lot of behind the scenes stuff.
Man.
And we go to every road game too. And so we're seeing a lot of stuff on the road too.
That's an interesting point. And you're actually able to go to games this year, right? You can be on the sidelines.
We can still go to the home games. We cannot travel. And that's
how weird is it in that stadium with nobody in there?
So bizarre, dude.
It's got to be like an elite level practice, basically.
Well, you can hear people yelling. You can hear. You don't even need them to be mic'd up for the coin toss. You can hear the guy yell heads. I mean,
really?
It's like, what? This is crazy. Yeah. Like you can, like Everson Griffin was here with the Cowboys, and like you could hear the smack he was talking on the field to the guys.
Really,
it was awesome. It was like it gives you this whole new kind of perspective as to how it all goes down, and like that's the thing about sitting like near the court at a Timberwolves game. You hear all that trash talking, and it brings a whole nother level.
It's going to make the game a lot more interesting.
It does.
Sure.
It does. And
because they're back. They're going to go play.
Yeah.
Now, if I were to pick a sport where I would think you're most COVID like in danger, basketball's probably it. And then on top of that, I don't even want to talk COVID. It's such shit. You got a hard out?
No, we're good. We're good.
You just give me the signal. Because I got a list. Ricky Rubio, they get him back?
Yeah, he's back. He's back, baby.
What are we thinking?
I like
mature now?
I always liked Ricky. They are trying to do the right thing. They are so snake bit. My God.
Oh.
I mean, what is it, like 13 out of the last 14 years they haven't made the postseason? And then they finally get good, and then Jimmy Butler blows it all up? I don't know, dude. It's like
well, with this track record, though, Jimmy Butler will probably be back. I mean, why not, right? After he takes a complete dump on the city.
Jimmy Butler's not coming back unless Karl Anthony Towns has left the building. Let's just put it that way. No, but I think they've got some, I like every year. That's the one team that I really, for some reason, get really blindly optimistic with. I'm like, well, man, this might be. Things might, they could at least contend for that 8th or 7th spot in the West this year with this talent, and like I still believe it.
Hey,
I'm
you're officially a Minnesotan now.
They got the number 1 overall draft pick. I'm like, well, this guy's got to be good, and they got Cat and they got D'Lo, and they've got some intriguing pieces, and this Malik Beasley kid who's supposedly really good, but
it's really for a Minnesota team, it's as well constructed as a team can be. This, with the new additions to the team, I mean, after this, it's got to be Saunders. I mean, really.
Well, they've got a lot of people behind the scenes, not just Ryan, but Gerson Rosas and some of the data and analytics people, and they've got some amazing people on staff.
Yeah.
That have proven track records of success, and so I'm still. And last year was such a weird scene, right? And so you can't really, they didn't make the bubble or whatever, but
that was with every
But
sport.
they also blew up the roster halfway in between. Got 7 new players.
That was almost 3/4 through, wasn't it? Where they just said everybody out.
Yeah, I mean, but some of the pieces they've got now from that are really intriguing. And while they're and whatever in this preseason, I don't think preseason is much of a,
And should we be doing preseason with the COVID?
I don't know.
I felt like the football got off to a weird start because we didn't do preseason. Everybody bitches about it because it's worthless games.
No, my gosh, you're
motions,
absolutely right. There's no way this Vikings team. You saw them start to get better.
Yeah,
like they were 1-5, but you could see the progress, and it was just like, oh man, if we had 4 preseason games, these kinks would have been this bad out of the gates.
Right.
I really believe that.
Well, and I think a lot of it too is
especially with those rookie cornerbacks and all that stuff. Those guys wouldn't have been that
Delvin
brutal.
Cook, he cannot be away from the team. He has to play every game.
Yeah,
because he's carrying. I mean, he's wow.
You see, when they didn't have him, the Falcons came here and just trounced them. I mean, that was okay. If there's a sign of how good this guy is, that's it.
Yeah.
And I think the same way about the way Eric Kendricks has played this year on defense. And they obviously
he's been out 2 games now.
Yeah. He's missed 2 games, and one of them was escaped by the hair of their chinny chin chin against the Jaguars at home without him, and that they've had
a couple of those games where they're just like, oh, well, but even the last game, if Bailey would have showed up,
Yep.
Yeah,
no,
we're in that thing.
Huge, and it's not
And the
just
morale
it's
just went,
not just the points on the board. It's the morale, like you
Yeah.
say, and it's also the momentum that just gets completely buzzkilled, and you're just taken aback. But like I feel bad like when these injuries set in, and like I know every team goes through injuries, but to have season-ending injuries to Anthony Barr and Daniil Hunter on defense,
Yeah.
and those are your two studs,
Yeah.
dude. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And you lose both those guys that you're kind of building everything around, and it's just like, oh man. And
It gets
you were
tough.
already rolling the dice with the rookie corners, but that's when you thought you had Hunter and Kendricks and Barr and all these guys healthy,
Right.
And when Barr goes out and Hunter goes out, then you're just like,
That's trouble.
you're really, really
Well, and I
thin.
did, and I was pissed about the Diggs thing when they got rid of him, but that new kid, was he from LSU?
Yeah, Justin Jefferson's he's been a revelation, and I'm in hindsight that they got him where they got him. It's just like, wow, those other teams missed the boat on this guy. And I know there's other good rookie receivers like CeeDee Lamb and T. Higgins and guys like that, but this guy's something
killing it. Actually,
special.
Him and Thielen, like, okay. So, and I'm not, a big Kirk Cousins guy, because I just think if you're going to have a quarterback, he's got to look like a stone cold killer.
Yeah.
And I don't get that when I see Cousins. So where do we go from here with Cousins? Do we have a plan?
Yeah, well, they re-signed him, so I mean,
Well, right.
no, but like,
Come
yeah,
on.
no, I think what we've seen Cousins be successful when he's not asked to do too much. Right? And there have been quarterbacks like that where you can get it done if you've got a Dalvin Cook and
Yeah,
you've
but we
got a
don't
Justin
want that.
Jefferson.
We want
No, you don't. You want an Aaron
go.
Rodgers. You want an Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
That's what you want, right?
We've never had one.
Or you want a Patrick Mahomes. You want a Lamar Jackson. You want somebody like that.
We want anything but what we have.
You can do a lot worse than Kirk Cousins.
Oh, I'm
man.
sure. Yeah, totally. Oh, yeah, totally.
And he just in the last few games he's been working on his running game. Fran Tarkenton's been telling him that he needs to run more. He's been working on running more. He's been a little bit more mobile. His mistakes have gone way down. I mean, he had like 9 interceptions in like the first 5 games or something like that. He's locked that up, and that's when they started to really say, okay, screw this. We're going to give the ball to Dalvin Cook, 35 times a game and just roll that way.
Yeah.
And I think with that and just the threat of Cook opens up so much more. And
I mean, our offense is powerful. I mean, we've got
the offense is legit, and while Cousins isn't a stone cold killer, I agree with you. I mean, it's hard not to agree with you. But
when
but he can get you. He can get you. I don't want to say that. He can make you a contender, right? I don't know if he's going to take you to the promised land,
no.
but he can win a playoff game. He did it last year. He won a playoff game on the road at New Orleans, and that was a huge performance.
Well, if you had a Trevor Lawrence back there, or if you had a Mahomes, or you had, this is a different team. If we've got a gunslinger and killer back there,
you're right.
You're right.
You got to
for
have
the money we're paying Cousins. You should be able to get anybody.
I think the most brutal part of the Vikings right now, and I do think that the corners have stepped up a little bit. I think Jeff Gladney's going to be a good player, but whatever. I think where is the defensive line's pass rush this year? Where is a pass rush? And I also think that the special teams is abominable. And I think those two things I think are the biggest killers to this team right now. And I also think that as we record this right now, they've got 3 games left and they need to run the table, and if they don't, they're screwed.
Well, you're okay. And I got other sports.
And then to answer your question, what do they do moving forward? I do think you draft a quarterback. I do.
Oh, you have to.
You have to.
You have to, because I don't even know who our backup is.
Right. And that's
so that
the
means
problem.
he's nobody.
That's exactly the problem. Like, if Cousins goes down, what are we going to do? And remember that one game where Cousins was so bad, and like in the first half, they were like,
get him out of there.
Get him out of there. But then we were like, wait, for Sean Mannion?
Yeah, who?
Wait, what? That's our backup? Like, some of these other teams have like a halfway decent backup.
Well, but isn't that how Aaron Rodgers and some of the great ones, I'm drawing a blank right now, but I mean, he worked under Favre for how long?
Yeah.
Until he then was ready to go. Where we're not even farming anybody. We got,
I know, that's a problem. I think you need a young stud quarterback in there that can at least
look at that kid who filled in for Breeze. Jesus.
Right.
He's a player.
Yeah.
We'll take him.
Taysom Hill's been.
I'm sure for $30 million he'll come over.
There's exciting players. You can get guys. There are quarterbacks to be had too. You just have to make it a priority. You just have to make it a priority. And in the last few drafts, you haven't had that luxury because you've had so many other positional needs that needed to be addressed before quarterback because you at least
well because you thought you could count on know. I mean, he's solid. He's just not
I know.
So okay. I know you got a heart out here, but we got to touch on this Gopher basketball situation. What happened last night? I mean, Jesus, we're 6-0, and
you're 6-0.
You shit the bed completely on the road.
Is that I? That's one thing I can't say on television. I can't go on Kare 11 and say what you just said.
Oh, well, if you need, just call me. I'll say it on there. I don't care.
I'll just
I'm
maybe
available.
I'll have you cut a little stinger for me.
Yeah, I'll cut a little stinger for you. But my thing is this. My son is now a junior in college. So he played, well, he didn't play, but his class played with Kalsher and that kid from Orono. And so I kind of have, like a connection. I don't know him, never talked to him. But, but the Kalsher, come on. He's either on or he is off.
Yeah.
And lately off has been on more than on.
I think Gabe's one of those players where, and it's unfortunate, but the success of the team kind of is on him. And like if he's going to be good, they're going to be good. Because they've got some really other intriguing pieces in there, and Marcus Carr is developing into a really good player, and I'm really glad his pro career didn't end up happening, but these transfers are exciting.
Yeah.
And the Robbins kid, geez Louise, he's a beast. And they got some really good pieces. I like what Patino's done in being able to develop the chemistry that he has in this non-conference schedule with all these new faces.
Right.
But yeah, these guys that like Kalsher that have been there a few years now, they need to take it to the next level.
So here's the thing. I know you get to get in there and you get to talk to these guys. Mm-hmm. And what I need you to do is send a message to Kalsher. Get rid of the hair. Fix the hair problem, dude. Go back to your old hair. Go back to scoring. Right? You think it's all related? I think it is. I can't deal with that hair, man.
There's been some amazing hair over the years.
Well, what's the Orono kid? He's got quite a thing going there.
Jarvis, yeah.
Jarvis.
We like Jarvis. We like his.
Do you think he's going to be a force there? No, because he's what now? He's a sophomore.
Yeah, he's just so gifted athletically. I don't.
He seems like he's a little bit wild.
He's a junior now.
Is he? Oh, no, sophomore.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. Yeah, because my son's they're the same age.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
when, God bless. When was I at the Final Four in Des Moines? Was that 2 years ago or? I don't know.
Well, yeah, it was here last year, wasn't it?
No, because Aturu. Oh man, this pandemic's got us wackadoodle. I just don't even know what year. Like I had to we were talking about Mo Ibrahim, the Golden Gopher running back the other day. He just won Big Ten Running Back of the Year, and I'm like, redshirt junior. Wait. Oh yeah, I guess he is. And he's like, that's the hardest thing for me, other than Russian female tennis players' pronunciation names, is trying to remember what year college kids are, because especially when you throw in the red.
Now that we've cracked open the History Channel here, it could be age. It could be an age thing. But I'm with you on those Russian names. I've been doing. I do a lot of voiceover work for YouTube channels, and I have a UFC one that I do.
Nice. And
those names, what are you doing?
I don't know.
Who puts that garbage together?
Dude, I had to say Giannis Antetokounmpo. I had to say Giannis dang it. I had to say Giannis Antetokounmpo. God, I still can't do it.
I honestly wouldn't know if you're right or wrong.
I can't do it. I can't. I had to write it out phonetically on my script and try to say it. I've tried. I have not mastered that name yet. And it's like, I remember I was in Denver covering the Wild in the playoffs when they played the Avalanche several years ago when they made their big Western Conference final run. And I literally tripped over the word Colorado like 3 times. I could not say the word Colorado. It was just like sometimes.
Really?
Usually I'm pretty doggone fluid on the air.
Well, and then you Dan Bailey it gets in your head.
Yes, it's all it is. It's a Dan Bailey situation. Yep. I had the yips. And not just that, but I had that's a whole nother story. I went to a local hair salon. The drawer fell on me. Like they opened up the drawer to get the shampoo out as I was laying back on this couch thing, getting my hair, shampooed out.
Yeah.
The drawer falls on my lower lip right here. And anyway, long story, I had to go get stitches. It was this thing. I had all this blood pouring out of my face out of the salon. It was insane. But like I go to Colorado and I've got a big scab right under my lower lip. And I got all these emails from people, lose the soul patch. Who do you think you are? And it was that. I think that's when it was in my head. That's when I messed up the word Colorado like 3 or 4 times on the air in succction. And
strong road series for you.
And I also asked the guy at Pepsi Center where the Coke machine was, which was just a horrible mistake. But that's a whole nother story. The perils of the road.
Sometimes you have a bad road set.
It was just a bad road trip for me until Andrew Burnett scored that goal, and then all was.
Then everybody, redemption. Yeah. Well, we got to get you out of here. You're gonna have to come back. We got a lot to figure out.
As long as you got that pirate booty ice cream or whatever it's called, or I
don't have any currently.
Okay,
but I know a guy. I know a guy who knows a guy.
All right, I hear you.
So we got to thank Eric Perkins from Channel 11 for coming in, or Kare 11, I should say.
Yeah.
For coming in, and stay tuned. He'll be back somewhere down the road, and we'll get some more of the inside scoop on Minnesota sports. So thanks for coming in, Eric. Have a great day. That's it. That's the end.
That's a wrap.
Read the shtick.
That's a wrap for today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe and tell all your friends. If you'd like to reach out, you can use the studio line at 612-504-6500 or by email, thedkprojectpodcast@gmail.com. And of course, there's always social media at the DK Project Podcast. Thanks for tuning in.